Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let us begin the day by giving charity. First of all, give charity. Let's make this a little bit bigger here. There we go. Charity. Oh, and a little bit too much light. I have to change the lighting over here. Here we go. Oh, good morning. Good morning. There's someone come in. Good morning. Yes. Okay. Here we go. Giving charity. Start the day off. This should bring Moshiach now. Stop all the trouble in the world. Bring only blessings to the world. Okay, we're talking now about this restore portion by Yitzhak. We're centering around two very interesting, actually three very interesting questions. Number one, why did Jacob have to go outside of Israel? That's how the Torah portion starts off. Yitzhak Yaakov mi Beersheva. Wait a second. He went out of Beersheba and he went to Haran. Let me make this change the lighting here a little bit. Oh. And here we go. 1 minute. And change the lighting. There we go. Oh. Okay. So Jacob left Israel, the Yitzhak Yaakov Beersheba, a wonderful place, and he went to Haran, which is the worst place in the world. And that's where he worked for 20 years for Lavan, and he established the Jewish people. All the 12 tribes are the sons of Jacob, whose name was going to become changed to Yisrael. So the Bnei Yisrael. No, it says that before he left to this before he left Israel, so he laid down in a place. It says that place is going to be the place of the Holy Temple. And he took rocks and he put them around his head and he made a pillar. We talked about this in great length and in great depth also in Torah Or. Remember, that's what we learned this last week. Anyway, so he put it around his head and he made it into a monument. So what's this idea of stones? Where did he take stones? Why did he put it around his head mainly? What's the idea of stones? So we explained that the whole essence of what the Jewish people is to take this physical world, like leaving Israel, going to Haran, making the physical world holy. And in order to make the physical world holy, sometimes it's necessary to leave our holiness and to go into the world and bring that into the world. That's what Jacob did. And why rocks? Why did he start the thing off with rocks? Because rocks shows on firm resolution and an unchanging and unyielding connection to the truth. That's what Jacob had. And he mainly had to protect his head because that's where the soul is. Mainly you have to protect your soul so that even when you are in the world, that the world doesn't negatively affect your soul, your head. The soul is found in the head. But you also have to protect your body. It says he also made around his whole body, also these stones. It says that's another question we also have. Why did he lay down and go to sleep? Say because when you lay down and go to sleep, your head and your feet become equal. So on one hand, going to sleep means you become unconscious. On the other hand, laying down is the whole goal of Judaism because it makes your head on the same level as your feet. In other words, bringing down your thoughts, your desires, your will, your awareness of God, your consciousness, and bring it into day-to-day mundane activities. And because the whole world is created by God and everything in the world has a purpose and a message to it. And that's the job of the Jews, is to reveal this purpose and this message. And the way that it's done is by a lot of times self-sacrifice, doing what God wants and not doing what we want. And that says that's the whole idea of the word mata. Mata means below. Mata means below. He saw a ladder. Jacob saw a ladder, and his feet were on the ground. Means mata means below. And mata also means like a staff. It's like a staff of life that he brought into the world. Okay. So that's the job of the Jewish people, is to make from this physical world and to reveal that everything in the world has a holy purpose and to reveal what this purpose is. Let's do as much as we can of this here. Let's see where we go. We go. He said, and that's the whole idea of the month of Kislev. The month of Kislev is the month of rain. When rain starts Cheshvan and Kislev, rain, says the Rebbe, the rain is compared to the Jewish people because the whole essence of the Jewish people is to be like rain, to irrigate and to fertilize and to then make the whole world a what do you call it? Another word for fertilize and a fertile place, the whole world. But where does rain come from? Rain comes from the ground. Rain comes from the ground. It comes from evaporation from the world, and that's where it starts, because God made water in the world, but in order to move that water around, so there's the clouds and the clouds, but that's by means of our work praying to God, that causes the evaporation. Our prayers are like evaporation also, and that brings down rain or brings down blessings into the world. So that's the whole idea. And not only that, that's the whole essence of what Moshiach is going to do. Moshiach is mainly going to fill the world with water. The knowledge of God will fill the world like water fills the ocean. And that's the whole idea of Kislev. Kis means case, means to cover, and Lamed Vav is revelation. Eile. The Rebbe explained why. So it's revealing everything that was covered. And that's the whole idea of Chassidut. And Chassidut was revealed mainly. Let's see if I'm reporting there. Chassidut was revealed mainly in this month of Kislev. That was the month when the first Rebbe of Chabad was put into prison and miraculously was released from prison. And he saw that as his enemies, the ones who didn't want Chassidut to be revealed, they put him into prison. They saw this as a chance. The Rebbe saw this as a sign from heaven that all of the opposition against him was false. There was no ground, even in the highest levels, the spirit, the finest levels. Maybe there's little something wrong with Chassidut. Maybe it's not the time to bring Mashiach. Maybe this is not the way to bring Mashiach. And him getting out of jail in such a miraculous way, to the degree that even the Tsar and all of the ministers, they all admitted that he was right, to send them out in such a miraculous way was a sign from heaven that he should just really start spreading out this idea of Chassidut. So that's when it began. That was Yud Tet Kislev. And about 20 years later, his son was also put into prison for basically the same reason by his enemies. And he also miraculously got out. But he got out on the 10th day of Kislev, and he was born on the 9th day of Kislev, like 55 years earlier. So Kislev, therefore, is a very connected to Chabad. It's Yud Tet Kislev was when the first Rebbe of Chabad got out. That's when Chassidut really got put into high gear. And it's also when the second Rebbe got out of Chabad, that is even a higher gear, got out of prison. That's even a higher gear. And it's the day that the first Rebbe, the second Rebbe was born. He passed away, which in some ways is even higher. And it's also, of course, the holiday of Chanukah, which Chanukah is the holiday of oil, which oil signifies floating above water. So that's the secrets of the Torah. But Gilui the Torah, when Chassidut was revealed in the month of Kislev, it joined the upper worlds and the lower worlds, like we said, like Yaakov laying down, his head was in the ground, took the rocks and protected himself. It means in order to reveal godliness in the world, like rain coming down from heaven. Especially this revelation of the ideas of Chassidut were in the month of Kislev by means of the second Rebbe of Chabad. So again, let's we have to keep putting this into perspective. The whole entire world depends on the Torah. The whole entire world depends on the Torah. People that don't know, there's 8 billion, 9 billion people in the world. They all depend on Jews learning the Torah. I know that sounds fantastic, and it is fantastic, but it's true. It's really true. Why? Because when God gave the Torah, he just didn't give a book. He was just, trying to be an author, get his book published or something like that. And he couldn't find a printing house. So he just gave it on Mount Sinai, just gave it on Mount Sinai. He had to do all the work himself. It's not so. The Torah is the blueprint and the reason for creation, that man should act the way that God wants him to. That's what the Torah is. And not only should he act, but he should think the way the Creator wants him to, and he should feel the way the Creator wants him to. That's the Torah. The act the way the Torah, that's the revealed Torah. Thinking the way the Torah wants him to, that's already a little bit the secrets of the Torah. But to feel the way the Torah wants, that's the secrets of the secret, that you should really love God like you love money or even more. That's the secrets of the Torah. And that's the only book that tells you what God wants. There's a lot of religions in the world, and they're all wrong. They get little points of truth that keep them alive, that keep people interested in them. But the fact is that all of the religions in the world are all lies. There's a famous, Maimonides brings it in the end, from a sentence from Jeremiah, that all the people in the world will rush to Israel, to the Jews, and tell them our forefathers taught us lies. They're lies. People like to believe lies. What are you going to do? Maybe one of the best proofs of it is that all of the religions in the world say that all the other religions are basically lies, that their religion is the best. So every religion already has like 90% or whatever, 70% of the world saying that, that they're wrong. So every single religion, of course, in Judaism, everybody says it's wrong, but nobody knows what it is. People don't know what Judaism is at all. That's the idea of Hasidut, is to teach us what God is. We say there's no God like ours, Ein Kelokeinu. What God really is. As soon as people know what God really is, then they'll automatically say, listen, we're not guilty, you're not guilty. We just tried our best and we didn't, if anybody's guilty, it's the Jews are guilty for not teaching everybody what's right. But God is merciful. He forgives us. And none of the Jews themselves didn't know. What do you want? So that's the idea of Chassidut. Chassidut just comes to teach the Jews what God really is, what the Torah is really about. And from that, the Jews can be at least examples to the whole world of how you act when you feel what God is. That's what Moshiach is going to do. He's going to make these all real. So all real. So one of the ones, like we said before, all the Rebbes of Chabad were the Mashiach of their generation. So the second Rebbe of Chabad, that was the one who really started organizing and explaining the ideas of the first Rebbe of Chabad. The first Rebbe of Chabad, we did this last time. First Rebbe of Chabad, he revealed the ideas in just like a little point. That's like Chachman. That's like the first letter of God's name, Yud. The second Rebbe of Chabad, he explained all of the ideas of the first Rebbe. And he explained in great length and great depth and very clear in a way that it's possible to understand them. In order to unify the understanding with the essence of the idea, the understanding, that was the second Rebbe, and the muskal and the source of it, Benidun Didan, the unifying of our mind with the awareness of God by means of learning Hasidut. So there has to be another point. Hasaga ben Nekudat HaChachma. You have to really understand what the first point is. V'tiyeh gam havana shel bina b'ofen shel hitrachvut, in a wide way. Listen, there's a lot of very genius people in the world, but not too many of them can explain things to others. And there's also those people that big professors, they can explain things to others, but only if those people are in their level, but they can't explain it to somebody simple. A true person it takes a special talent to explain very deep ideas in a simple way. They say that was one of the big things of Einstein. That there could have been that there were people that were of his intellectual level, but he had the ability to bring it down to make it practical and make it understand. Now that's just talking about physics, and there was only theories. We're not sure that he was right. Here we're talking about Torah and God, and the Rebbe, of course, certainly is right. There's no doubt that he's right. But to be able to bring it down, that was the unique ability of the second Rebbe of Chabad. That's called Bina. Alter says similarly, it's also understood regarding to spiritual and physical, godliness and the world. This is made by means of learning Chassidut. Shashlemut bazeh is caused in addition to Chachma, this first point of wisdom, of power, of life. There's also Bina, there's also understanding. In other words, in addition to there being a soul, there has to be a body and understand how the soul affects the body. Why the soul affects the body, why God even made such a thing with this. Like it's explained in the physical life of the second Rebbe of Chabad. And that Tzemach Tzedek said about him, the third Rebbe of Chabad said about him, if you would cut his finger, it would come out blood. What does it mean? The physical blood would be Chassid. Of course, blood would come out. But what he meant to say is that his physical life was the ideas, what really motivated him every moment were the ideas of what God is as explained by Chassidut. Yesh Lomer can say that the reason for this is because the ability to explain a deep idea, that's called the widening of the river of Bina, of understanding. It's not just spreading out the ideas and explaining it, but it has to come from a higher source than even the Chachma itself. It has to come from a higher source than even the original idea. It's a talent. It's a talent. Let's take it in our example, right, with Einstein. So Einstein has had genius ideas, right? But in order to, which are nobody understood, but in order to bring these ideas down that everybody can understand, that's takes a certain talent which is even above the original ideas themselves. The ability to explain it, that comes from what's called the merchava atzmi, the essential oneness, the essential wideness of God. Now with Einstein, it's only, like I said before, it's only talking about one branch of knowledge, and it's not even certain. It's only science. It's not certain that it's true. It just works better. If somebody comes up with a better theory, you have to scrap Einstein, right? You have to scrap it. But here we're talking about the truth. It's not a thing that can be scrapped. It's absolute truth. All the Rebbes of Chabad they were prophets, and they had the ability to actually tell what really is. And therefore, to have the idea is one thing. To explain the idea is a lower idea. You don't have the original idea, but the ability to explain it comes from a higher source than the original idea itself. So it comes from another talent as far as godliness goes that's even higher than the original idea. Therefore, they had the power to join together spiritual and physical. That was especially demonstrated by the second Rebbe of Chabad. That he had the ability to take the ideas, the deep ideas of the first Rebbe of Chabad, and explain them in a way which was, how do you say, user-friendly in this world. That has to be something which is higher than both of them. They come from a source which is higher than both the ideas of the Rebbe and also his explanations. It comes from a talent which is higher than both. Adarabba Gila, this ability to reveal the essential wideness, which is higher than the idea itself. That's what it says. This is what it says, that from a narrow place I call out to God. That's like the first Rebbe of Chabad. And God answers me in a wide place. This is higher than the original ideas themselves. That's the whole point of what God wants. He wants us to reveal godliness in the world. Not that we should save ourselves and that we should go to heaven and that we should, that's so good. That's good. But that's like the original point. God wants us to take this original point and to bring it into the world, to take the wellspring and make it into a river. Yeshlom, we can say that that's also the hint why he's called Admor Emtsei, why he's called the middle Rebbe. Why is he called the middle Rebbe? Because he is just a middle, he's just a means to something else. According to this, now we can understand why the second Rebbe of Chabad, he is mainly found in the his life. That's the original question. Why was his life? He was born and died on the same date. Name of the ninth day of Kislev. It's going to be this Shabbat. Since the Bayim was found a special connection between the ability to connect spiritual and physical. The second Rebbe of Chabad had the ability to bring the deepest ideas and to reveal them in a way which are understandable by everyone. And the ability to do this, that comes from the power of God's essence, we said before. That's even higher than the original ideas themselves, the original explanations themselves. That's the whole completion of service of spiritual, why we're here. That's like water. That's like bringing water, a mashket penei adama, that like rain that inundates the earth. Gam et Yamav, also his days and his years, physical years, but Shagam Haim Tamimim, they'll complete. In other words, his spirituality and his physicality, the days of his life is a spiritual thing, and the days which are physical, they matched perfectly. Why? Because he had the ability to bring the spiritual and make it match perfectly with the physical. And the other way around, that the physical world matched perfectly the spiritual world. That's what his ability was of the second Rebbe of Chabad. I hope he's according to this. Now we can say that the reason for this, that this day of Tes Kislev is the preparation for Yud Kislev, which is the holiday of the redemption of the second Rebbe of Chabad. That's the day he got out of prison. He got out of prison 1 year before he died. 1 year short from a day. This is the year that he passed away in Peichet, which is 1 day after his passing away, right? He passed away, and then he was born and passed away on the 9th day of Kislev, and the day that he got out of prison was the 10th day of Kislev, but 1 year earlier. He didn't have a chance to celebrate the anniversary of his freedom. 1 day short of that anniversary, passed away. Since the completion of the joining together of the service of a tzaddik spiritually with his physical life, this is a preparation which gives a little hint immediately the power to bring the spiritual into the physical, and that's the whole idea of the geula. The whole idea of the geula that we're waiting for, the redemption that Moshiach is going to bring, is only that uniting the physical and the spiritual in this physical world. And that's the idea of yafutzu mayna tachachutza, that should be spread out, your well springs outward. Like it's known that the redemption of the second Rebbe of Chabad and also the first Rebbe of Chabad was not just a personal part of their lives, but it was mainly another stage in the spreading out of the teachings of Chassidut. Therefore, there was all this opposition. That the second Rebbe of Chabad revealed the first Rebbe very, very much, but the future redemption is going to be even more. That it'll be imprisoned and released. This will be all of the Jewish people are now imprisoned. We're in prison because lack of awareness of what God is. And the future redemption will be a geula that all of us will be revealed from, redeemed, released from the prison of our own minds. A geula or pritza derech, a breakthrough, which is above any limitation. From Mosifa kochot chadashim, this gives new powers, incomparable, l'chaber elyon tachton, to unite the upper worlds with the lower worlds, the spiritual with the physical, the creator and the creation. That's the idea of Chabad Chassidut, because it's all in the hands of the Jewish people. And by learning Chabad, it changes your whole attitude. It can change, and it's not automatic. Like I said before, If you learn Chassidut, especially Chassidut Chabad, it automatically fixes you up. Automatically 10%, 15%. But it fixes you up though. You have the tools. Now you have to use them. Like we said, that when God gave the Torah, that he united the upper worlds and the lower worlds. Before that, giving the Torah, there were spiritual people and there were physical people, and they didn't meet. And after the giving of the Torah, even the most physical of physical could become spiritual. And even the most spiritual of spiritual, God himself, he came down into the world and said, put on tefillin and said, Acha nigla the Torah until the revealed Torah, va'od yetera, and even more. Shagula, the redemption of the second Rebbe and Yud Kislev, which that was like 30 years after the first Rebbe. Nasit hatchala hakdama legeula shel Yud Tet Kislev. This Yud Tet Kislev occurred like 30 years before the second Rebbe got out of prison. But the date of the year, Yud, the 10th day of Kislev, comes before, even though in actual history it happened way after. But so Yud Kislev is a preparation for Yud Tet Kislev. How can it be? We just finished explaining the Yud Tet Kislev was the revelation of Chachma, the inner point of Hasidut, the novelty, like the new moon, is revealed. And the second Rebbe of Chabad, that expanded it. And now we're saying it's really the other way around also. Yud Kislev comes first. Yud Kislev comes first. The awareness that we are going to be able to spread out the ideas of Hasidut all over the whole world, which that's the second Rebbe of Chabad, that awareness is what inspires us to even begin to learn Hasidut. So there's two ideas. There is the idea of what Hasidut is to reveal to the world, and then there's the ability to actually do so. The awareness that we have the ability to do so, this inspires us to start to learn Hasidut, to begin with the first point. So in some way, the redemption of the second Rebbe of Chabad, which that's spreading Hasidut all over the world, is an inspiration. That the fact that we can't do so is an inspiration for even the beginning of Hasidut. Even more, and this year, when Tet Kislev falls to be on Shabbat, and Shabbat is drawn down holiness of Shabbat. Shabbat is a holiday is a day only for the Jews. Only Jews are supposed to keep Shabbat. Not why? Because Shabbat indicates that the purpose of the Jewish people, the purpose of that God is part of the week. God himself is part of the week. And the Jewish people get that inspiration from Shabbat. That's what we're working for, and that's what we're working from Shabbat. We're working for this holiness which will be permeated in the world. And the holiness of Shabbat, when we take that and we bring it to the days afterwards also. So Shabbat is a day which is above the world, but it is in the physical world. We eat, we drink. Al Yidei, by means of the commandments to get pleasure from Shabbat, we're supposed to eat and drink good. We drink, sleeping on Shabbat is pleasure, it says. That there's an extra soul which is given on Shabbat. This causes the actual nature of a person. It says in the Talmud that even people who are, prone to lie, they do not lie on Shabbat. It says that liars have a hard time lying, cheating on Shabbat. The physical, the Shabbat actually has a physical the imprint on the world. Everything we said before, this is relevant to the Jewish people in all of the generations. Bring Mashiach, we're supposed to bring Mashiach immediately. It says, if the Jewish people hadn't sinned with the golden calf or with the spies, whatever, Moses wouldn't have struck the rock. There's different explanations. They would have gone into Israel, and Moses would have been the Mashiach, and the whole thing would have been fixed up. We've been waiting for Mashiach since then, that the whole entire world will recognize God. The non-Jews will do the 7 Noahide commandments, and the Jews will do all the 630 commandments. We're waiting for that, all the generations. That's the idea of Hasidut, to reveal God. Alachat kama v'kama, how much more so, if that is every generation, how much more so now, in our time, that all of the signs that we have in the Talmud, in Sanhedrin, and all the Midrashim, they are already, says the Rebbe, that we see that the curtains are coming up, and we're already beginning in the first stages of the redemption. Like we said before, that after so much time of our service in our suffering and our belief in God for so many generations, or Befrat, and especially after the service of the Rebbes of Chabad and the suffering that they went through, beginning from Yutet Kislev and Yud Kislev being put into prison and threatened with death, the days of their birth, the days that they passed away, Tet Kislev, Chavdalet Tevet, that's the one the first Rebbe Chabad passed away. Me'az Kavar Avru, there is already past 300 years, 250 years, until the service of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. In his life, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, in his life, all of the work has already been finished, including even Esav Hu Adom, even fixing up the church, fixing up everything is fixed up, says the Rebbe. How much more so, Shahari Afilu Bizman Yaakov, in the time of Jacob, Savar Yaakov thought that Esav was already refined back then. That was 4,000 years ago. And Jacob had done sufficient work and suffered sufficiently, and his faith in God was so strong through all the suffering, it didn't change. So he figured, okay, he did what he had to do, and Esav was fixed up. So if he thought Esav was fixed up back then, how much more so after 4,000 years of serving God? Hari Esav kavar nitbarer legamri. It must be that Esav is totally clarified. Kafisha roim, like we see also banaga b'zman that we see nowadays, that the non-Jews had the hityachsut the Esav hu Edom b'derech Malchut shel Chesed. Now we see, for instance, in America, very amazing. Usually, the Christian countries always had times where they were enemies of Judaism, and Judaism was like a big bone in their throat. That's why they were evicted from all these countries, because of Christianity, all of it, right? They were evicted from Spain, they were evicted from England, I think England first, and then Spain, and then Portugal, and then France, and then Italy. And all these countries, they evicted them mainly because of the church. That's what. So they always made troubles. All of a sudden, they come to America, and America is definitely a Christian country. You know, it's a Christian, and they treated the Jews very nicely. Right? It says Malchut shel Chesed. They even encouraged Judaism. Kamokain, similarly, Bispashus Hanagazu, but Medina says this is spread to also other countries in the world as well. Hari moving, so it's understood. So Ata, then now. Nimsam, we were found, but Matzav Bo, a goof gashmi, the physical body, even the physical world has already been refined, says the Rebbe. The Rebbe is saying this is 35 years ago, the Rebbe is saying this. It's already been refined totally. And the world is already a vessel, ready to be a vessel for godliness, including the light of godliness and the miracles of God, of the Moshiach. The total redemption, until the essence of God will be revealed in the world. Now we read this, and it seems that we're talking about, where is the Rebbe living? You know, is he living in some sort of a bubble or something like that? Who is he talking to? Doesn't he know what's going on in the world? And the Jews are in terrible shape, right? So the answer is that the Rebbe knows what he's talking about. He's very well aware of what he's talking about and who he's talking to. And the point that the Rebbe is trying to say is that just change your priorities a little bit, and you'll see what's going on, which is not an easy thing to. Okay, this will reveal in the Mashiach himself. And by means of this, it will be revealed in each and every Jew. So what the Rebbe is saying like this. The fact is, generally, in a whole, if you step back and look, you'll see that the whole world is ready for redemption. The whole world is ready. Everything is already there. People are starting to realize what the oneness of God is. They're really, what's the problem? The problem is you just have to. That's why the Rebbe is talking to us. If it was so obvious, the Rebbe wouldn't have to talk about it. The Rebbe is trying to say, just look and see what's going on, and you can see that something is happening under the surface that you're not aware of. That you're not aware of. That the whole world is changing. The whole world is changed according to the Rebbe, and the only thing but human beings are still human beings. We still have free choice. Hadavar Yachid, the only thing that's missing is Shehudi Yiftach et Einayim. You just have to open up your eyes properly. The year and you can see everything is prepared, ready for the redemption. Yesh Kavar at the Shulchan Aruch, the table is already set. There's already Leviathan, what's called the Leviathan and Shorabor and the Yain and Meshumar. There's already, says the Rebbe, the big fish and the big ox and the wine, which has kept all these things from beginning of creation. And the Jewish people are already sitting around the table of their father, the table of Yachad together with Mashiach. Mashiach is already here. Like it says in the book, Shabakal Dor, that every generation there has to be someone from Judah who is fitting to be Mashiach. In our generation, Mashiach is the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. Now you can say, 1 second, 1 minute. When the Rebbe is saying this in 1991, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he passed away in 1950. And the Rebbe is saying that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he's the Mashiach, and he's right here, and he's sitting with us. We're all together. I mean, if there's anything obviously not true, it's that. How the Rebbe says, open your eyes, what are we supposed to see? The Rebbe passed away. He has a burial place. You can go to Montefiore Cemetery. You can see that there's a burial place for the previous Rebbe. And the Rebbe is saying, no, the Mashiach is sitting right with us, and that's the previous Rebbe, and he's the Mashiach. Okay, so you can say, well, the Rebbe is talking about himself. I mean, yes, of course, it's obvious the Rebbe is certainly talking about himself. There's no doubt about it. But that's not what he said. He didn't say that. He said the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. So how does it figure out? How does it work? So the answer is, I don't know. There are things that we just don't know. And the Rebbe said last week, if you remember, that the coming of Mashiach is like the new moon. And the Rebbe stressed it's not even like the new moon that we see. When we see the new moon, we see like a strip of light. It says the coming of Mashiach is like a point of light. And the point has no characteristics. It doesn't shine. It's not color. There's no color. It's just there. You see that it's there. And then afterwards, it starts to get bigger and bigger, and you see it more and more. But a person that never saw the moon before had no idea what it is, right? Or is looking in the wrong direction for the moon. And so, of course, he doesn't see the first, and he doesn't see the whole thing, doesn't see the whole business, looking in the wrong direction. So the Rebbe is trying to say, Mashiach is already here. The first point has already arrived, right? You have to open up your eyes. What are we supposed to open up our eyes to see? Learn the ideas of Chassidut. I have another thing for you. God is everywhere. God is creating everything. God is the most obvious thing in the world is that God exists. He's creating us. Do you feel it? You see it? Right? Don't see it. But nevertheless, that's the most simple, obvious. That's the point of Chassidut. The point of Chassidut is that we should feel God, see God everywhere in everything, and that should make us, that should activate us to do more, to say more, to be more positive. So what the Rebbe is saying is that the whole thing depends on us, and that basically all of the work has been done. The Achre Arbim, let me just say another thing. We're learning in the Torah about how great is Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Right? What did they do? What did they do? We know exactly where they lived. They wrote, on a wall somewhere, Abraham was here, Jacob, the son of Abraham, the son of Yitzchak, write their name on the thing, carve it into a tree or something. What did they do? And if you look in the Torah, you don't see that they really did anything seemingly significant. On the other hand, the world was filled with who knows how many millions of people that were building cities and building all sorts of doing, massive things that they were doing. So that maybe the other people in the world, here you have Napoleon, who knows what they lived, he did something. And Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're really famous. They are really famous. Nobody has anything bad to say about them. But all the other people that are famous, everybody said, who he really was, what he really did. Abraham, pure, 100% pure people, what did they do? But that's really true fame, that you famous in God's eyes. You did what was right in God's eyes, and God is the creator of the whole universe. So we're talking about seemingly imperceptible reality that's real, and what we see is not real. And that's what the Rebbes of Chabad are here to show us what reality really is, that this world is infinitely more real and meaningful and good than we can possibly imagine. We're already 40 years after the passing away of the previous Rebbe, that was 1991. So it should be that we already have a heart to know and eyes to see, like the Jews wandered around 40 years in the desert. Now all we have to do is, like we said, just open up our heart and open up our eyes to see and open up our ears to hear. And similarly, we can use all of the 248 limbs and the 365 blood vessels of our body, in addition to learning Torah and doing the commandments in general, which we say that the 248 positive commandments correspond to the 248 limbs of the body, and the 365 prohibitions of the Torah, they correspond to the 365 blood vessels in the body. Nevertheless, when we learn the inside of the Torah, all these aspects of our physical body and of our soul will be filled. There will be revealed the Torah of Chassidut and doing the teachings of our Rebbes, including learning about the future redemption. But just again, another reset. For sure, there is going to be a redemption. For sure, the world is going to see God. For sure. There's no doubt about this is going to happen. The result is already promised to us, no doubt about it. Says the Rebbe, the result is already here. We just have to open up our eyes, but for sure it's going to happen. There's no doubt about it. The way the world is now is super, super, super temporary, and we're going to realize that the whole thing was 99.999% bluff. We misinterpreted everything in the world, but often in a way that this should open the heart and the eyes and the ears that we should understand and we should see and we should hear. Simply, in the physical world, the true redemption and revelation of God and learning the Torah of the Moshiach. In a way of seeing, it says the Rebbe, it's already just prepared for us. All we have to do is just open up our eyes and see it. Are we going to finish this? I don't think so. Open up our eyes and see it. Let's do what we can. Okay, in a way of simply speaking, regarding what we should actually do, since that the joining of the soul and the body, the spiritual and the physical, it already is. That's the idea of Yaakov, right? Taking rocks and transforming them into a house of God. Says the Rebbe, everything is already prepared for the future redemption. So we just have to do things that will actually reveal this. The Kol HaRosh, first of all, Binyan Zman, we have to make birthdays, our own personal birthdays, and we also have to celebrate the birthday of the second Rebbe of Chabad. That's going to be the Shabbat. And to honor the second Rebbe of Chabad, we should add on learning of his teachings in a way of Rechovot HaNahar, in Bina, understanding what the Rebbe is saying. And this learning of this is relevant to every single Jew. That's why I'm giving these classes, this Chabad, people giving classes online all over the place, right? Beautiful, interesting classes. Men, women, like it was spoken about many, many times, the learning Chassidut and spreading out the wellsprings of Chassidut are relevant also to the women of Chabad as well. Some of the classes of the women are even better than the men. And especially by means of that, Atimar, the Malchut Mashiach, says that the women are the ones that are going to have a very essential place in bringing Mashiach. That's what we say, Talmud Gadol Shemevi Maisa, that learning is good only when it brings to actual deed. This learning has to be, we have to learn the Maimorim, the teachings of the second Rebbe of Chabad, that by him is relevant, is the revelation of the complete understanding of the ideas of Chassidut in the physical body. That's what we said. That's why he was born and passed away on the same day, that this completion was expressed even in the physical time and time. He completed from day to day, that by each and every Jew there should be a special effort to express spiritual and the Chassidut in the physical world and everything he does. And everything in the physical world, that it shouldn't just be that when you're learning Chassidut and when you're praying and when you're doing spiritual things, then you're spiritual. But when not, so, when you eat, when you sleep, you talk with your friends, you should feel this all the time, that the chamimus, the warmth, and the Jewishness and the Hasidicness, in a way that there shouldn't be any separation between your Judaism and your life at all. They should all be one. In addition to this, that you see and organize in every single place a Hasidic Farbringen, beginning in Yud Kislev, and this should teach the Torah of the Rebbe and to accept resolutions in all that we said before, learning Hasidut and expressing the ideas of Hasidut. Everywhere, what does it mean? To trust in God, to love God, to love every Jew, to love your fellow man, to help others wherever possible, to encourage others to do the commandments, because you feel that this is connecting the world to the Creator. That's the idea of Chabad. Kolel, including making resolutions to make Farbringens on Yud Kislev, Yud Tet Kislev, which is the holiday of the redemption of the first Rebbe of Chabad, and to show every place in the whole entire world, even to the furthest corners of the world, in a way that every corner in the world where there are Jews should be permeated with the light and the warmth of Hasidut, of Yud Tet Kislev, which is the Rosh Hashanah of Hasidut. That's the that's the New Year's Day of Hasidut, the birthday of Hasidut. Kamoke, and similarly, we should make Hasidic Farbringens in the whole month of Kislev, and especially in the special days which are connected to Hasidut, until even the end of the month of Kislev. Those are the days of Hanukkah, all the days of Hanukkah. In this spirit, the lights of Hanukkah should be, there's a law that says that you should put the lights of Hanukkah at the entrance of your house. According to Kabbalah, we don't do it. Chabad doesn't do it. A lot of Hasidim don't do it as well. But it says in the Shulchan Aruch that it should be done. There's reasons why, according to law, that you put it in your house. Even nowadays, you do it. But there's a lot of Jews, you go in Bnei Brak, in Jerusalem, see a lot of Jews, they put the Hanukkah lights inside of a glass case. They put it in front of their house in a way that this adds light even into the street. Therefore, you should try to make some sort of a meal, a festive meal, every day, or at least one day of Hanukkah. You should give out Hanukkah gelt, money of Hanukkah, to the people in your household, and especially to children and to boys and girls. When you do this, you advertise in a way to the money of Hanukkah. Give not just a little bit, give a good sum of money. And by means of this, it adds the joy by the children. And this even attaches even more the custom of our Rebbes that give this addition of money should be accompanied also by an addition in learning the Torah of the Rebbes, the teachings of the Rebbes, and the customs of the Rebbes day to day. A lot of people, they read the letters of the Rebbe every day, especially the custom of the Jewish people, which is in our time to learn about the future redemption. People don't know what it means. They don't know what it is. They don't know what they're waiting for. May it be God's will, Yehi Ratzon, that talking about this and making resolutions about it will bring actually to actual deed. It will bring the future redemption by means of the Moshiach, and the physical eyes will see it. And immediately all the Jewish people will fly on clouds together with all of the good deeds we did and all of the work we did, together with all of the properties that we've got and all of the money that we have. Some people are afraid they don't want Mashiach to come, we'll lose our money. Together with even the houses, it says the Batim Mikdash Ma'at, even all the synagogues and all of the individual houses that we're in, they'll all fly to Israel, that this will be then the even CNN will be convinced, right? They'll show a thing like this. What's going on with the Jewish people? Asher nasu chadurim the garment. It says in the Talmud that all of the synagogues will fly together to Israel. That's joining the Ba'ora Chassidut, the light of Chassidut will shine in the souls of everybody. Like it says, Shachanti B'tochem, that God's presence will be present by with all the Jews in our holy land, in Jerusalem, the holy city, on the holy mountain, on the holy house, the Beit HaMikdash, the third temple. And we can say that all of the Beit HaMikdash, it says that there's going to be that all of the synagogues in the world and all the individual houses that are similar to the temple, right, will all join together and they'll all fly together to Israel. Where there's going to be a place in Jerusalem, I don't know, but Kodesh Kodashim, the Holy of Holies, that there will be found what's called the Even Shtia, the foundation stone, that from it the whole world is founded. The whole entire world will realize and feel that God loves them and that God is creating everyone in the world, and the whole world will turn to serve the creator of the universe alone by the 7 Noahide commandments, and all the Jews will return to Torah and commandments. With Mashiach now. We made it. Did it 1 second.